Hello everyone, welcome to this video where we're going to look at the Azure Firewall. And in this series we have started working on the upgraded version of the AZ500, which is now marked as AZ500X if you look at the GitHub labs from Microsoft Learning. The previous one you can find them by AZ500, and we have started working on this. We have already completed the first 7 labs. They were really nicely designed and you should do all of them. In this particular lab, we're going to look into Azure Firewall. Okay, if you're following this lab, so every lab has a scenario. In this lab, we're gonna install the Azure Firewall, and this firewall is gonna help your organization control inbound and outbound network access, which is an important part of the overall network security plan. So you probably will see and understand the difference between the network security group and a firewall in this particular lab. So specifically, you would like to create and test the following infrastructure components. So these are kind of the objectives. Your virtual network with a workload subnet and a jump host subnet. Okay. Then virtual machines in each subnet, a custom route that ensures all outbound workflow traffic from the network subnet must use the firewall. So just not use the as your default route. Maybe you have a network virtual appliance, you want to inspect the traffic, so you can direct all the traffic to go through the firewall of your choice. Okay. And firewall application rules that only allow outbound connection, and firewall network rules that allow external DNS server lookups. So all of that stuff we're gonna accomplish in this exercise, and we're gonna start with deploying and testing Azure Firewall. And looks like we have a template that we're gonna use for this particular lab. So it's under lab 8 and template.json. So let's get that template file first. So to do that, you just need to open that, go back to the root of this particular GitHub repository, go to all labs. Lab 8 is where we are, so it should have this template.json file. So just click on it. There are many ways to download. I just do it, just look at raw and just page save as, and I already have a folder and I'm just gonna save it there. That's all it's needed. Okay. So let's come back over here. Alright, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna perform several steps in this lab, and it starts with user template to deploy the lab environment. That we're gonna use the template that we just downloaded, deploy the Azure Firewall, create a default route, configure an application rule, configure a network rule, configure DNS server, and then we're gonna test the firewall. So everything starts with our Azure Portal. So we'll go to the portal, and if we are following my labs, this is the resource that we're going to search if we want to deploy a custom script, deploy a custom template. So let's go in here to our Azure environment. Let's search for this particular resource, and if you don't find it immediately, just say custom template and deploy a custom template. So this is what you want. So you click on that one. That will give you the deployment, and all you need to do is build your own template in the editor. So you click on it, you have a load file button, you click on it, template you have already downloaded, click on it. So it's already preloaded, and it's going to create all of that stuff for you. Okay, looks like it's going to create 2 different virtual machines, network security groups, and all kinds of stuff. Okay, and hit save. So that saves your configuration, and you have some few more things that you need to configure. So let's see, what else do I need to configure in here. Build your own. So we have already done that. Edit template, save, we have already done that. So in here we're going to create a new resource group, and we're going to deploy that. So resource group, create new. This is the new resource group that where we're going to deploy this thing. And let's see, what else do I need to configure. I can get rid of this. Going to be under East US. That's what is selected. I'm good. Everything else is already pre-configured, and this says it should take about 2 minutes. So let's go down, remember to hit this agree to the terms and conditions, and then hit purchase. So it should start the deployment, and see what happens. I already have like 3 or 4 virtual machines. I hope I have enough resources limit available for this deployment. Sometimes when you're using free resources, you may hit the limit of number of cores and number of virtual machines you can have. If that happens, just go back and delete some of the existing resources that you're not using. If you have definitely a free account, if you have unlimited whatever your own subscription, you shouldn't have any problem. So let's wait for a couple of minutes and then let's come back. Alright, I think the deployment is now done. So let's go back, and what I want to do, I just want to go to the resource group and click on that one, and on the resource group you can see the status of your deployment. It's saying the deployment has been successful. That means I have everything, the template deployment, everything is done, and we can move to the next phase of the lab. Okay, so once that's done, we can get a firewall, and we're going to put it in the same firewall. So let's just go back to Azure firewalls. I'm just going to create this one and then click add. Right now I don't have any, so we're going to create a new firewall. We're going to put it under the resource, this particular resource group. We're going to call it this, and this is going to be the East US region. And let's see if on any other configuration it requires. Choose a virtual network, select test FWVN. Do I have that? So let's see, virtual, use existing, and then test FWVN. So that must have got created as part of the previous deployment. And for public IP address, add new, and this is going to be the public IP address that we're going to create for this particular firewall. Add new, name is this, everything else should be good. So not doing anything else. Yeah, so this is all good. So if you create and then create the firewall resource for us, so we can start using it. So there we go. So while this is going on, Azure Portal resource groups, so they're trying to go to this resource group, and they're really trying to go to that firewall. So we'll just get to the firewall directly, identify the private IP address that was assigned. So we need, so let's see if this deployment is done. No, deployment is done, or it's underway. So just click on this, it will show up here, or it will show up in the main window as well. So you will know that when it's done. As soon as it's done, we'll go get the private IP address and start working on configuring this firewall. Or my friends, the deployment is done. So now I can go to the resource directly and start working on configuring this particular firewall, and say this resource is a firewall type. Okay. So what we need to do first, we need to figure out the private IP address. Let's save that in our notepad right over here. So that's the private IP that you can use to get to that firewall. Okay, so now the next thing, we need to create a default route for the workload SN subnet. So let's take a quick look actually what we have here. So this is my resource group, and in this resource group, how many virtual networks do I have? I have, looks like, 1 virtual network. So let's get into the virtual network, and again, this is the virtual network. And how many subnets do I have? Let's go in there. So it looks like I have 3 different virtual 3 different subnets. We got the jump subnet, we have the workload subnet, and we have the Azure Firewall subnet. And that's another thing that you should remember and notice, that anytime you are deploying Azure Firewall, Azure Gateway, anything like that, you have to create a subnet for that purpose in particular, and that network or the subnet has to be named like this: Azure Firewall subnet, Azure Gateway subnet. Okay, keep that in mind. So over here, what we're gonna do in the Azure Portal, search for resources, services, docs, route tables. Okay, so now we're gonna create a route table. Okay, so this is what you're gonna copy, come over here and find the route table resource, and There we go. So you go to the right resource and now create one. Right now we don't have any, and this is how you're gonna configure, how you want to route your traffic. So name is going to be firewall route. Okay, that only makes sense because you want to route your traffic to the firewall. Same resource group, so let's just from the drop down get the resource group that we want. East US is fine. Virtual network gateway route propagation we are not using, so most likely there should share that it's disabled. Yeah, nothing else is going on, so just say create, and that started the creation of that route. Okay, wait for the provisioning to complete. On the route table blade, click refresh, and in the list of route tables, click on the firewall route entry. So that's the next thing that we are gonna do as soon as this is done. The deployment, as I said, it's underway and it will take probably a minute or so. Now it's done. Go to the resource. So that is the route table. So we are in, and then firewall route entry is what we need. Do a refresh on it for the routes. I do not have anything right now in here. Let's see, on the route table, click refresh on the list of route tables, click the firewall. Oh, we are already in there. So in here what we need to do, we need to associate the subnet test FW firewall virtual network. So in here at this time, let's see, subnet, and then associate. We're gonna associate which one? Test FW virtual network. So that subnet we're gonna associate, and we are associating this with what? With Azure Firewall subnet. I think that's what we need to do. Let's see. Associate subnet virtual network is this. Subnet is workload SN. Have we done? Virtual network subnet is no, workload SN is what? Virtual network is this, subnet is that. So let's do this first. Note, ensure the workload SN subnet is selected for this route, otherwise the firewall won't work correctly. Okay, so what we have done, we have associated the workload subnet with this firewall virtual network. Okay, so once this is done, we hit OK. We have done that. So back on the firewall route table settings, click routes and then click add. So now we are gonna back over here, route. We have not added any resource, we already created a route. So let's see what we need to do for the route name. FWDG is the name that we want to assign. Let's see, address prefix for anything from anywhere, any IP that it's coming to. Where do you want to send? This is gonna be the next one. It's gonna send it to a virtual appliance. So let's see, virtual appliance, because firewall is a virtual appliance. So what is your next hop address? This is the private IP address of your virtual machine. So that's what we need. All right, we got the recorded that IP address in here, so we're gonna put it here. So for the route table, what you're saying, for any traffic from anywhere, just send this traffic to our virtual appliance or the firewall, where the firewall is hosted in that private IP address. Okay, so now hit OK. So now in that firewall route, we are creating and adding a route for this purpose. So let's see, configure an application rule. So we can also do that. For the application rule, in this task we'll create application rule that will allow outbound access to bing.com. Okay, so in the Azure Portal, navigate back to test firewall and then settings and rules. Okay, test firewalls, settings. This is the route table where we are. We're gonna go back to our test firewall. On the test firewall, we gotta go to settings and then rules, and here we gotta assign some rules. So most likely add a NAT rule collection is what you're gonna do. App rules, and click on the application rule collection tab. So it was not application rule. We'll just cross it one for 1 second. So we're gonna add application rule, not the NAT rule, and then add application rule collection. That's what you need. So over here, what you need to do, let's configure that as per the lab requirement. Here we're gonna put the name. This is gonna be the name of it. Priority is gonna be 200. Action is allow, and then add application rule connection blade. Create target FQDN. Allow GH. Target FQDN name is allow GH, and then source type is IP address. Source is this. That's the source IP address, and then protocol is 80 and 443. So let's go get both of them. And target FQDN, so we're only going to allow the Bing, okay, nothing else. So let's add that one, and then you can add add the target application. So that's going to allow access to that particular website through your firewall. Okay, that's the firewall rule that you just added. And let's just give it a second to show up. That rule to show up and configure. Alright, let's go back, and at this time, note Azure Firewall includes built-in rule collection for infrastructure FQDN that are allowed by default. These FQDNs are specific for the platform and can be used for other purposes. Okay. Next, what we need to do, configure a network rule. Network rule for what? Network rule that allows outbound connection to two IP addresses on port 53. Okay, port 53 is the DNS port, and we all know that. So we're gonna do add a network rule connection. That is gonna be our next task. So over here, this is still going on, and that can still go on. While this going on, I'm just gonna start the next task. Add a network rule collection, and we'll call that a net collection 01. And the priority looks like it's gonna be 200, and then allow type. Then under the default rule collection, we're gonna configure some more stuff. Default rule collection. Let's wait. Alright, so we are here, and the next thing that we are going to do is in the new add network rule collection blade, we're gonna configure a new IP address with the following configuration. So what we want to do, allow DNS. So right over here under IP addresses section, put the name of it, allow DNS, and what protocol we're gonna. DNS uses UDP, so you're gonna use the UDP. Source type is IP address, so let's see, source type is IP address. Destination is source address is this 10.0.20/24. Destination address type is also IP address, and these are external DNS servers where we are going to allow our servers to talk to. Okay, and destination port should just be 53 because that is the port used by DNS service. So there we go. So now we have that, and if you click on add, we should be able to add this particular rule, and it's now updating our firewall at this time. So when we can come over here, and then in the next step, we're going to configure the virtual machine DNS servers. So what we want to do, we want to configure the primary and secondary DNS addresses for the virtual machine. So this is not a firewall requirement, remember that. So we're going to go to this particular virtual machine that we have. So let's go to that particular virtual machine, and let's go to that machine, and what we need to do, go to the networking, and on the networking interface entry, we are going to go to the DNS servers. Okay, let's go networking, and networking interface entry. Somewhere we have to find the DNS. So DNS servers is right here. So this is what you're gonna do, and you're gonna say custom, and most likely, let's see if that's the place they're going. Networking interface, setting DNS server custom. Yeah, add 2 DNS servers. So these are the two DNS servers. So we are not using the default DNS servers that Azure is providing. We're adding this, and we're going to add the other one is this. Okay, so now we have configured two custom DNS servers. Remember to hit the save button over here. So we got that. Rerun to the AZ virtual machine page. So we can now come back to this virtual machine page. Let's home. This SRV work, right? SRV work virtual machine. Yeah. Wait for the update to complete. Note, updating DNS servers for a network interface will automatically restart the virtual machine. So this is another important thing to note. If somebody asks you, hey, I'm changing the network interface, what's going to happen? So it will automatically restart the virtual machine. So make sure that you have all the work saved and everything like that, and then you change your DNS name. The last thing that's really now remaining is test the connection, test the firewall. So we're gonna go to this resource group, we're gonna go to the jump virtual machine, and they're saying that you get the RDP file, but again I'm using Linux, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna directly go into that virtual machine. So how do you do that? We still need to go to that virtual machine. So let's find that machine from here. Here's the machine. I'm gonna get the IP address for the machine right there. I hope I have a RDP port open. I think I do, because they're also asking you to download the RDP file. So let's get this one. I don't need that. New window. I'm using just Remina remote desktop client from Ubuntu. It works for me just fine for the most of the stuff that I do. So student, and I need my super secret password again. So let's get that one. Let's put and then hit OK. So I should be authentication failed, check username, password, and domain. What did I do? Did I username is local admin. Okay, all right. So this one has deployed using the template. So template must have had different username. So put the username in here, and let's get the password from here just to be sure that I'm using the right password. Now, buddy, there we go. So okay, so we have now connected to this particular VM. And what we need to do, the following steps perform the remote session. You will alright, we have logged into the virtual machine using our client. So here what we need to do, we need to click the run button, and we need to MS DSC and then SRV work. We need to go and do this. So let's click over here, say run. Come on, run. Here's my run, and what do we want to run? It's this, and hit OK. So this is asking for some more details. So you provide the same local admin and the password that you have, local admin, then the password that we have configured already, and say OK. And it looks all good. So you just say OK, yes. So now what it's doing, we have logged into the jump server. From the jump server we are now logging in to the SRV work, that server. Okay, now within this remote desktop session to SRV work, in the server manager, click local servers and click IE enhance security. So yes, it will open up my server manager. And here you go to the local server, and if you're doing the lab, you probably know how to do this step, by now. Local server and IE security is a little kind of hidden. So IE security, if you can't look at it, sometimes from my client it's a little bit hard for me to see. Okay, this is the one that I need. So please, I enhance security configuration. So click on this one and just turn them both off and say OK. So now go back to the lab, and in that workstation now we can try to go to the bing.com. Okay, so let's minimize that one, open up Internet Explorer window, and here what I'll say go to bing.com and let's see if it's allowed. Okay, what do you think is gonna be? So note the website should successfully display the firewall allow use the access. So yeah, so you have things are coming up. If you click on the search results, you know, you are getting all the search results and stuff like that. Okay, now what about Microsoft.com? Do you think this is allowed? So let's test it out. So come over here and let's try to go to the Microsoft.com, and here, so it's telling you HTTP request from 10024 to Microsoft.com, action rule matched, deny. So this is the action, no rule match, proceeded with default action. So this is not allowed under the current configuration. And at this time we can terminate both of the remote connection, and then that was kind of the end of the lab. And at the end of the lab you should remove your resources that we have created for this particular lab. So this lab was a little bit complicated, a lot of things happened, so I would suggest that do this lab probably multiple times, and if possible draw some network diagrams. Okay, what happened, what did we do? So we really created a lot of things. We deployed virtual machines, we configured firewalls, we configured routing, we configured NSGs, we configured routes, and then we did how you want to flow your traffic, how you direct on traffic, and how to even allow access to different websites through your firewall. Okay, so if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any comments, leave comments. Please share with your friends, and if you're preparing for the exam, good luck. Thank you.